Okay, at this time, I would like to call the Paris Union High School District Special Board Meeting to order at 3 p.m. I will be taking a roll call. Trustee Nelson,
Here.
Trustee Vallejo,
Here.
Trustee Stafford,
Here.
Trustee Campos.
Here.
And myself here. We have a quorum. Item 3.1, invitation to address the Board of Trustees on closed session items only.
No cards today.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Item 4.1, adjourn to closed session. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Please vote. Item 4.1 is a 5-0 vote. And we'll be adjourning to closed session at 3:01 p.m. All right, item 5.1, reconvene in public session, pledge of allegiance, or, excuse me. We're reconvening at 5:52 p.m. And if you could all please stand for the pledge of allegiance. Item 6.1, revision, adoption, ordering of agenda, March 5th, 2024. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, I do. I like to pull out action item 9.4. Can I get a second?
One second.
What number?
9.4.
Is there a second? See, no second? So we'll just keep moving on? So we're on 6.1, we still vote? All right, please vote. Oh, wait. I didn't see a second. So the motion fails? Ms. Elizabeth, the motion fails, I'm sorry. So then we would vote on revision adoption of the agenda, March 5th, 2024, as it currently is presented. Any more discussion? Please vote. Yes. Item 6.1 is a 4-1 vote. Oops. Item 7.1, report out of closed session.
I do have three reports out of closed session for this evening. In closed session, the board unanimously voted 5-0 to approve an agreement resolving OAH case number 202-311-0026, which is now final. In closed session, the board took action to appoint Adam Estrada as Director of Risk Management and Environmental Safety with an effective date to be determined by a vote of 3-2. And the final one, in closed session, the board took action to promote Joseph Williams as Assistant Superintendent of Innovation and Technology Services effective March 6, 2024, by a vote of 4-1. That concludes my report out of closed session.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Item 7.2, overview of the district's current physical condition.
All right, how's that outside? I'm being asked, because they knew I was the next speaker, to remind everybody to please speak into the microphones for our folks in the outside. So I'm just the messenger in that regard. So I will be brief tonight. We have some visitors here today from the Riverside County Office of Education, who has fiscal oversight responsibilities for our district and 22 other districts in the county. I'm going to introduce Dr. Price, then I will let him tell you a little bit more about himself and introduce his team. But Dr. Price is here tonight. He's the Chief Business Official for the Riverside County Office of Education. So before I do a handoff to Dr. Price, I just wanted to do a brief budget update as it relates to the district. It's only 3 slides long because I want to have you see where we were the last time we talked, and then where we're at, so that when Dr. Price and his team are speaking, it will make a little bit more sense. So this is just a summary of the unrestricted general fund. You all are used to seeing this format. I know many times we've been talking a lot about this. And so this is what our budget looked like the last time we talked about it with you, which was on January 24th. And we were talking about a number of different items, as you may recall. We were talking about contract negotiations, correct? We were also talking about the governor just released his proposal for the state budget, and in that proposal, the COLA for next year was projected to decrease to 0.76 from 3.94 to 0.76. And so we were talking about really both of those things together. And so this was the budget that we showed you that would then include level 1 and level 2 reductions. Many of those items are before you tonight. Some of those were deferred from the last regular board meeting. As well as what, as you know, we ultimately entered into a tentative agreement with, and then have with PSEA, and then have a Me Too agreement with CSEA. So this should look familiar to you. I want to point out that in 26-27, which is the 4th year there, we were projecting to end our ending fund balance at 3.02%, but that was with additional reductions that needed to be identified of $1.3 million. So just wanted to spend a bit of time on that. So what has changed since then? I just want to highlight the major budget revisions since that time to the budget that you have not seen, but I'm going to show you, but we had to submit to the Riverside County Office of Education as part of our AB 1200 disclosure requirements, which is the next step after reaching a tentative agreement with a bargaining unit. So you may recall that we've talked about our out-year enrollment projections and what does that look like. So previously in the budget, we were projecting a 2% increase in each of the out years. We have lowered that to 1%. And what has changed since January 24th is we have certified CalPADs from each of our feeder districts. And we were able to take that data to look at what does our student enrollment look like for next year. So we've lowered that down to an increase still of 1%, but down from 2%. So that has an impact on the budget. That's the bad news. The good news is we also looked at our ADA yield and capture rate, and that we're projecting that will increase in the current year, and hopefully all of the out years will follow suit by 1%. I know we've talked a lot about that, our attendance rates, right? And they're still at close to, they're not close, excuse me, to pre-pandemic levels. Dr. Price is going to talk a lot about these details. I just want to give you the highlights. Since you all approved the SERP at the last board meeting, talked with the County Office of Education, they were comfortable and we were comfortable with including some level of SERP savings on the conservative side, so we've got that built in. Obviously, we have built in, you have 2 more items before you that were not deferred from the last board meeting. Those are action items 9.3 and 9.4, so I just want to be very transparent that that is included in the budget. And because those action items create additional savings, and we have the SERP savings in there, it actually eliminated the need to make additional reductions of that $1.3 million. Now, I will put a lot of asterisks out there. That is based on the assumptions that we have currently. That is based on the COLA of 0.76 and all of the projections we have in the out years. When the May revise comes out, that may all change a little earlier than that. We should get statutory COLA. So budget is fluid, and these are our best projections at this time. So I just want, this matches what we sent to the County Office of Education for our AB 1200 disclosure. Think of it as a preview of second interim, which will come before you next month. So with that, unless you have any questions specific to me, we'll turn it over to you, Dr. Price. And you can control this yourself, or you can wink at Sarah.
All right, thank you
And you have
very
2 more
much.
slides further.
Okay, I appreciate that. Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here, President Garcia, Superintendent Bennett, members of the board. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak before you today. I also want to thank Ms. Raines and Ms. Capistrano, who have been working with our office over the last week and a half after we got the disclosure that was spoken about by Ms. Raines, which talks about the raise that was given and the effect of that on the budget. So we've been working on the details, going through that to see the effect and what needs to happen as you move forward. I want to thank my team that's here, just so you know who's here. Raina Philp, who is our Executive Director of District Fiscal Services, Lindsay Gleason, who is our Director, and Angelica, who is our Manager, Quiroga, for DFS, District Fiscal Services. District Fiscal Services focuses on the district. We do your paychecks. We look over all of your expenditures that come in. We audit some of those, and we take care of all the retirement that comes through your district, all goes through the county office. And of course, we look at your reports, your fiscal reports and your budget as they go through, and we approve those as they go through. My name's Scott Price. I'm the Chief Business Official, and it's always nice to understand who's in front of you when somebody's speaking. So just briefly, I've been with Riverside County for about 2.5 years. Before that, I was superintendent at the Lenox District and took an upside-down district and brought it from fiscally upside down to fiscally stable. Before that, I was Chief Financial Officer of a little district called LAUSD. I was there, and before that, I was the Chief Financial Officer at LA County Office of Education. So this isn't new to me here in Riverside, since I've done this with LA County and the 80 districts that LA County has there. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of background there. So a lot of our districts right now are experiencing a perfect storm that happened. So during COVID, the federal government, the state government did everything possible to get districts funds, but they were one-time funds for COVID. As you've heard and talked about at many board meetings, those funds are now ending. The last of the big dollars end in September of the coming year, the federal portion of those. And so those are gone, they're done. And if they aren't spent, they have to be sent back either to the federal government or the state government. But most of our districts are doing a great job spending those funds, and some of them have already spent all those funds, and all the other districts are working at spending those. Now, at the same time that one-time funding ended, there's been a shift in the state economy, as you're well aware. Ms. Raines talked about it quite a bit. At budget time last year, June of last year, the state was telling us the economy's great. We still haven't gotten in tax receipts, as you remember. Taxes didn't have to be in until 1st September, then October. They delayed it to November. But during budget time, the state said, we're doing great, so we want you all to project a 4% COLA. So everyone put a 4% COLA in the 24-25 year across the state. In November, we started getting some word from the state that that COLA probably wasn't realistic after all. And the Legislative Analyst's Office came out and they said, you know, you better not expect the 4% COLA. It's probably going to be closer to a 1% COLA. Progressed further, the governor's budget in January, and the governor just confirmed that in reality, that 4% COLA was just a 0.76% COLA, basically. So it's a 3% decrease in not only 24-25, but that year sets a base. So it's a decrease of 3% there, decrease of 3% out in your next year, and then that fourth year also, because it resets the floor of what that COLA is going to be. So it's a significant cut. At that same time, and well, just to mention, the governor was being optimistic at that. The LAO had said that it's between 58 to 68 billion dollars that the state will be short. The governor said, no, it's only 38 billion, so I'm still going to give 0.75% of COLA, and I'm expecting tax receipts to come in April, and they'll be great. But since that time in January, it hasn't been great. The Legislative Analyst's Office, which I'm sure you're aware as the information comes through, now thinks instead of a $68 billion hole, it will be more like a $73 billion hole in the state budget. So that's not good news, and as Ms. Raines said, that 0.76 may disappear altogether in the May revision. We don't know still, but hopefully there'll be good news there, but it doesn't look like it right now. Another reason, or another piece of this perfect storm, is districts are negotiating raises at this time when the 4% COLA was there and verified by the state. And so they negotiated with the thought in mind that there would be the 4% COLA, not only in the next year, but that same floor would be raised for the years out. When that happened, many districts were in negotiations past what would happen with that drop from the 4% to 1%. In other words, they'd extended themselves with that 4% COLA and negotiated with the thought of getting that 4%. So there was a choice at that point for many districts. The district could either choose to take their latest offer and move backwards, which is a political nightmare in negotiations, or they could move forward and take other measures in order to pay for the raise that was given. And so we find ourselves, various districts right now in this position. Our job has changed at District Fiscal Services and with the county office. Before, in the first 2 years I've been here, we haven't visited any board meetings. We haven't had to, but we've been very busy. This is not the only board that we're visiting, and there are other districts that are in this same situation. So, let's see. I hope you're going to be able to see these slides, but I know the screen is, we'll go through it. First, I did forget to mention that I do know Ms. Raines from before. We were both in the CBO mentor program together, and I got to tell you, she was the sharp student and helped me through a lot of the CBO Mentor Academy. So I appreciate her, and I've known her over these years, so I appreciate that. So as I mentioned, the last week we spent clarifying, and we've gone through your reports, your different financial reports, worked closely with your financial team to understand the details of your budget so that we could help to show you in a few charts a little bit more information about the budget. The purpose of this presentation is to show you some of those trends, show you the macro a couple lines that will be helpful, we hope. And then, of course, one of our responsibility as the county office, and the reason we're here is because we have to approve your budgets and we have to approve your interim reports. So with that in thought, here are one of the things that we look at when we look at your report. And this will be familiar to you. It may be an unfamiliar format. But this is your enrollment, which are the brown columns. The ADA that you get, average daily attendant, which is the blue column. And then superimposed on that, that gray line is what's called the attendance rate or the capture rate. Capture rate is what we use at the state level, so that's why we include it in the slide. You're used to hearing it as your attendance. So I know it's hard to see there. It's a little bit of an eye chart. But pre-pandemic, you were at just under a 93% attendance rate. That's a great attendance rate. And it's wonderful. You must have worked very hard to make that so. The pandemic, everyone's attendance rate dropped. You can see that your attendance rate dropped down to around an 87%. And you've been able to bring that back up a little ways, but it's still not up to pre-pandemic levels. That has affected many districts. I want to tell you this is not unusual, and many of the districts look just like this. So everyone's struggling. We train so many parents to, if a kid has a sniffle, keep them home. And the parents were trained very well. And so it's hard to retrain them to get kids to school. So this is not unusual. I just wanted to point out that it's normal for districts, and all the districts are working at trying to make this better, get the attendance rates back up so kids can be in classrooms learning, and so that attendance can support the district activities in the budget. Another thing that we look at are contributions from the unrestricted to the restricted. Yours are not unusual. They've risen over the years. Special ed has gotten more expensive as we come out of the pandemic. As you give a raise, of course, special ed also the costs increase, which makes sense. And there are more students that are fighting the effects of being remote in COVID. So that's gone up. In the routine restricted maintenance, you are blessed with you're one of the few districts in the county that actually has growing enrollment. So as you're growing enrollment, as you grow in enrollment, your routine restricted maintenance also increases because it's all based on a formula on revenues. So your general fund contributions are normal. There's nothing abnormal about that. And it's not unlike any other district. This is the real centerpiece of this presentation. So I'm going to spend a lot of time here. And once again, I'm sorry for the small, I hope there would be a little bigger screen. Let me explain what's here before you. The blue line represents the revenues for the district. So you can see in the beginning in year 2021 year, the increase in revenues, we've had great COLAs, those revenues shoot up. That is unlike, this is just like any other district. They rise. Now the reason that the two lines split, the blue line splits there on revenues, is the blue line is actually what the governor has now said we will get in COLA. The green line that's split from the blue line is when we still thought we were going to get a 4% COLA. Okay? So that's your revenue line. The red line that you see going up is your expenditure line. Now, this isn't unusual. Expenditures went way up because you had a lot of one-time monies. The one-time monies had to be spent. Districts got used to deficit spending because there was a lot of one-time money that needed to be spent. Now that the one-time money is ending, you can see that red line dropping. So, but that red line, those expenditures have crossed the revenues. And in your out years, that red line continues above the blue line, which are your expenditures. So what you have here is, you've heard of a structural deficit before. This is the picture of a structural deficit. And once again, this structural deficit is a year after year deficit which eats into your savings or reserves. So if you think about your home budget for just a minute, if you have $4,000 a month coming in, but you're spending $5,000 a month, you got a problem, right? And the only place that you can take dollars from is your savings account. So once that red line crosses the blue line, you're spending more than you bring in, and you start dipping into savings. So the red line, you can see, has, excuse me, I'm gonna grab the water. I've been in meetings all day, sorry. The red line, once it crosses, you know that it might have to be there for a few years, but you try to get it back to where it's underneath the blue line, or where you're actually saving some money and not spending more than you're bringing in. The yellow line that is coming off of the red line that you see there, that's if you approve the resolutions tonight. That's the new expenditure line for the out years. So you can see the resolutions that are on the board agenda tonight. If you pass those, your expenditures will decrease and you get closer to the blue line. And what you want to do is you want to move that yellow line closer to the blue line. There's still work to do in order to take that structural deficit and at least make the lines meet. This line, or this chart, is your savings in the district. Because of the structural deficit that you see there, this is what's happening to your savings. Just like that home savings, home budget that you're dealing with right now that I just talked about, if you're spending more than you're bringing in, your savings start to drain. And you can see there are two lines here. The first one, the red line, matches the red line of expenditures here in your chart beforehand. You're draining your reserves because you're spending more each year than you're bringing in because of this perfect storm. Okay? The yellow line that's there is the yellow line on this other, that if you make the reductions, your rate of spending your reserves is slowing. In other words, your dollars will last, your reserves, your balance, your savings will last you for a longer time. So there's still, once again, more work that needs to be done, but the work that you have before you tonight with the resolutions starts you on the path to fixing or approaching or confronting the structural deficit that is there. So you can see here, let me explain this chart.
Can you just speak the outside messenger again?
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that, thanks. So this chart, you can see the dark black line that's before you. That's $0 in your savings account. You get below that line, it's a bad thing. The gray line that is there is the 3% reserve when we look over your budget that you're supposed to have across all years. And I know that this board has a policy where you prefer to have a 6% reserve, okay? You can see that if you don't act and don't act on those resolutions that are there, your reserves are eaten away very quickly. And when you come to us in a few months with a budget, that budget, the fourth year becomes the third year, and you're going to bring a budget to us that shows you dipping below zero in the third year, which is, once again, a budget that can't be approved. With the reductions that are here on the agenda tonight, that erosion of your balances, of your savings, puts you at least at the right about the 3% line, which is a budget that can be approved at the county level. So it's important to note there that that budget is only just a few months away. You're going to start talking about it in May, maybe April, and then you have to approve the budget in June. So regular process happening everywhere. So we wanted you to see this chart so that you could see how fast those savings are being eaten up with the structural deficit. Here's another view of the same thing, just with some dollar amounts to it, away from the 3% reserve. And once again, I apologize because it's hard to read the numbers there, but you can see the fourth year, which will soon be your third year, you would be $15 million below your 3% reserve, and actually below zero by about $9 million. So that's a severe budget situation. So it's just another way to look at the same chart that was there before. The yellow line, though, if that were put onto it, you'd be okay in that fourth year out. So our job as we move forward is to keep really close contact with your district as you move forward. We're going to look at the second interim that comes in. We'll get into the details as we move through. Because this happens mainly in your third year right now, where your 3% reserve, your second interim is going to look pretty good. If you look at that second interim, you're going to say, oh, and it may even be a positive certification because you're above your 3% reserve in the third year. But as soon as you get to that budget time in just a few months, and that fourth year becomes your third year on your budget, you'll have some real difficulties, and it will be difficult for us to pass a budget, and we can't pass a budget that has something going below zero in the third year out. So we just wanted you to know that we're here to help if we can, here to answer any questions. I want you to know that you're not alone. We've been spending, like I said, some time with some other boards, and it is because of this perfect storm, and because the timing on your negotiations just happened to be right in the unfortunate spot as some other districts where they'd already moved past, and they had bet on that 4% COLA, which they were hoping for, because boards understand the inflation that's out there. They want to help their employees. They want to move forward. And so boards have asked across the state to help push as much as they can to get into employees' pockets. So it's understandable with the situation the way it is. But if you just, if you saw the news today, San Diego is laying off 400 individuals, FTE. Today, Santa Barbara has some that they just announced and showed. Riverside Unified did their cuts about a month ago, had all that done. Coachella has gone through a couple board meetings where they've finally decided to do the reductions they need to do. We've been at Moreno Valley, so it's do you have any questions? I know that this is probably new, the way that I'm showing you the charts, so I'd be glad to answer any questions or help in any way. Thank you very much. And if it's okay, if I can excuse myself and my team, we're
Thank you, Mr. Price.
got our own board meeting, and but anything you need.
Since those seats are opening up, we invite other people to come and fill those seats as well.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you,
And
Scott.
sorry for the voice. I've been in meetings all day today, so thanks.
Moving on to item 8.1, invitation to address the Board of Trustees on non-agendized items. Individual speakers shall be allowed 3 minutes to address, oh, actually, I need to clarify that. Because we have so many, and normally we keep it to 20 minutes, we're trying to get everyone to be able to speak, so I'm going to give you all 1 minute and 30 seconds to stay within the timelines, but I want everybody to have that opportunity to speak. So I'm trying to be as flexible as possible. So individual speakers shall be allowed 1 minute and 30 seconds to address the board on each agenda or non-agendized items. The board shall limit the total time for public input on each item to 20 minutes with board consent. The president may increase or decrease the time allowed for public presentation, depending on the topic and the number of persons wishing to be heard. In addition, the president may take a poll of speakers for or against a particular issue and may ask that the additional persons speak only if they have something new to add. Also, I want to be a little bit clear. Last board meeting, we had people in the audience shouting and trying to trigger back and forth. That will not be allowed. If I tap the gavel, consider that your warning. The next move, I'll ask you to step out. This is a professional business meeting that we need to conduct. Whether we're for or against, I'm asking everybody to be respectful, please. I'm trying to be respectful, and I would ask that you be respectful too. I want everybody to be able to speak. So the first person I have is Jason Miller.
Thank you much.
One second. Everybody's 1 minute and 30, right? So that should be close. 3 minutes?
This category only has 2 comments.
Okay, so I apologize. For this category, these are 3 minutes. So you have 3 minutes. I apologize. Okay. And this is next.
Thank you much. In the future, I think I will have my own perspective on numbers. It is clear there will be a deficiency in mental health services for students in the coming school year. We are asking for a real plan to not overwhelm counselors with these services. The counselors in our districts have a lot of things to do with a broad spectrum of responsibilities in their job. I'm a teacher. I can take my papers home and grade them. These counselors cannot take a kid in crisis home and work on that at home. We cannot have anything extra added to their plate, and that doesn't just include extra services, but also extra work and the responsibilities they already do. It is easy to say that certain responsibilities are part of their job, but what happens when their regular job responsibilities have too much of a workload in and of themselves? There needs to be a level of regular job duties that, if exceeded, becomes too much. And we say, please hire somebody or do something to offload the too much for these counselors. Counselors right now are close to or over that level even now. Nobody wants to have less staff, and if we cannot keep staff, then what is the plan to shield these counselors from inundating them with too much work? From what I have observed, our counselors work hard and put a lot of time in for our students, and we do thank them for that. I admit I do not fully understand what counselors do. I will be requesting from counselors throughout the district if I can shadow them for a few hours to see what they do with an intention of understanding their job better. I hope that others can look to understand their job better as well. Thank you for this time to speak. Thank you.
Jonathan Belloso.
Good evening, board members. More than anything, President Edward Garcia, I just want to address this, that this is not a business meeting. This is the public sector. This is public administration. We are not here to just write things off, check off boxes. I stand before you as a director of a nonprofit, a businessman, a consultant, an uncle, who understands the importance, the necessity of these services. And allow me to say that we cannot just keep viewing. We have to look at the optics that these are now necessities. These are not additional programs that were once valued and now we're going to be able to write them off. No. I need you to understand that this isn't about coming down to arbitrary numbers, percentages of kids dealing with mental health. What will it take? What do we need to explain to you? How many times do we have to give a story about kids failing and taking problems home and then just suffering day in, day out? If this was the private sector, we would go ahead and turn and look to the administration, those in charge of finance, and we would cut them. They would be the first to go. So I'm curious, why is everyone else suffering for the incompetence of those in charge? If this was the private sector, you would be the first to go. I dare you to look at the children and ask them, am I being paid too much? What do you think of my salary? You know, you won't have those services, but hey, I'm gonna get a nice raise here. So, I ask you to truly think about it. Are we really, really marching on to being like Temecula on the news? No, not here, not Paris. No, because we have the opportunity to stop this. We have the opportunity to show the people we serve, the people you represent, that we're doing everything possible. So I ask you, have you been doing everything? When's the last time any of you have spoken to the students, have participated, have gone to their events, talked with the teachers, and truly say, what do you need? What do you need? Because that is public service. And if you're going to administer, if you're going to wear the title, if you're going to proudly take home that check, be sure to ask yourself, did I do everything possible to serve my community? Thank you.
Item 9.1, personnel, certificated personnel action items. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I'm sorry, who was first? Any discussion?
Yeah, I have a question. So, sorry, I got confused from the beginning. So we're only letting 2 people talk, or out of the whole,
Those were 2 cards for non-agendized
for
items.
non-agendized items? Okay.
Everybody's gonna get a chance to talk.
Okay, perfect. I also wanted to ask a question regarding this item. I want to know, what are we doing about this? Are we gonna save them with the grant that we talked about? Like, what are we moving beforehand? Because I don't want to vote on something where we haven't really talked about what we're gonna do to save them. Can we save them? Can we not? I need to know what's going on with this.
We're going to allow Candace to speak shortly, briefly, please.
Yes, so I wish I could stand before you today and have something to tell you that was absolute, but unfortunately, I don't have that. I can tell you that there are teams of individuals behind me that are working around the clock on this issue in a couple of different arenas, working to write grants, but also, and I think one of the most viable things that we're looking at, and really reaching out to folks across the state that do this not just well, but really, really well. And that's looking at the types of specialized services that most, if not many, if not most of the individuals on all of these agenda items you're about to consider do. And is there a way that we can bill for those services, Medi-Cal billing revenue, that would bring in additional revenue? Some of their services could then bring in additional revenue above and beyond that. So I don't have anything absolute. I can't stand before you today and say I have a solid plan, or we have a solid plan that'll save, 7 and 3. I'm going different categories. I just don't. But I can assure you that it is our absolute top priority. And when I say we, I'm talking about business services. I'm talking about educational services. I'm talking about it's, the first topic every single time we have a cabinet meeting is at the forefront of everything that we're doing.
Thank you.
Sorry, I had a quick question about that Medi-Cal billing one. So can we implement that now? Does it take time? Like what? I'm just trying to know the timeline regarding that.
It's both, actually. So we can implement that now. We do have some funds that have trickled in over the years, and so we're working on a plan for that. We have to be very, very strategic with it, right? So we want to take the small pot of money that we have and get the best bang for the buck. So we want to first bring back positions that can then help generate more revenue, right? So that we can then bring back more. So we can go slow and then have a plan to take the next step as quickly as possible. Okay.
So can we, does it make sense for you if we can table this to figure out if we can do this, or what's the best option?
Unfortunately, and I know this isn't the answer that you want to hear, Ms. Vallejo, so I'm sorry that I have to be the messenger here, but unfortunately, in my opinion, it doesn't make sense, and that's for 2 reasons. One, like you all talked last time, we do have to meet the timelines of March 15th, right? So that's one side of it. There's another side of this. Some of these funds that we're talking about, there's requirements that you can't supplant. So that means I can't just switch the funding. So by action, it helps us through the audit when I get down to the main issue. So if these positions are laid off and then brought back with another funding source, it helps us pass the audit trail, in short. So I know that's not the answer that you want, and I'm sorry about that.
No, it's okay. Thank you, Candace. I just want to say, in general, though, I feel like we did not exhaust all of our options. Did we talk about furlough days? Did we talk about, can cabinet, if they want to cut their salary in half and save the rest of the staff to help the students? I think we should do that. I think it's time to know that we are so in the red, we are so in trouble. I think these are the next steps to do to help all of our staff, to help our children.
Just to let you know, furlough days are not allowed unless the state approves it. And the state is not in a position to do that at this time. So furlough days are not an option unless the state says it's an option.
And what is the process of furlough days, Candace? Can you help me with that? Thank you.
Thought I could sit down. So the definition of a furlough day essentially is, I'm an employee, I'm gonna use a teacher as an example. My current work year calendar, I'll ask you to help me if I need, Kirk, or if you think I need help, is 186 days. So a furlough day would be to say, instead of working 186 days, will you instead work 184 days, so a difference of 2, and then you thereby reduce their salary for the equivalent of those 2 days. So in this case, the formula would be 2 divided by 186. Now, what Mr. Nellison is talking about is in the last recession, 2010-ish, the state allowed us to reduce student instructional days. Right now, there's a requirement that all students be scheduled to attend 180 days. We hope that they actually attend all 180 days because then our attendance rates would look much higher, right? So what the state allowed us to do as a budgetary savings measure is go from 180 to 175, and that's what Mr. Nellison is saying the state has not authorized us to do.
And how does that happen again? Like, how come they authorized it back then and not now when we're in the perfect storm, as what Dr. Price said?
Did say that, didn't he? I don't have an answer for that currently, I'm sorry, because that's not a decision, that would be a state-made decision, so.
Because I guess I'm just trying to understand, like, how can, like, I guess from your expertise, is there any way that we can save everyone? Like, give me a Hail Mary, give me something that is out of the norm so then I know that we have exhausted all of our options, that we can save everyone.
Unfortunately, I'm going to repeat what I said before. I do. I understand your question and your heart and all of your heart. I know you want to do the best thing that you can for everyone. And unfortunately, I think we have exhausted all possibilities in those conversations that we've been having.
If I may, I feel like not only the board, but the community's been cheated with information. It's like we're hearing new things and we haven't heard in there as well. So one of the things I'm going to talk about is why, I understand we have a March 15 deadline, but we keep pushing it on. That's what the special board meeting is. So how many times are we going to delay with no results? We asked to delay this meeting to become today to get data. I haven't been presented with data. Has any of you? Okay, so I'm asking that because everybody's impacted. And I understand the depths of this. I understand that this will be so deep. It could affect marriages, people's families, loss of homes. This is deep. And it's been a long time since we've been in this position. So I'm asking, can you give them the information you're giving us as well? And vice versa, because I'm hearing different things. The furloughs, we talked a little bit about that, and I told you my experiences with my district. If it's an option, let's do it. So is there any new data that you can present to us today?
So no, I'm other than what we've already talked about, I don't have any data, nor was I told of any specific data, though I'm always happy in any situation. If you have a specific request, I'm happy to, I know all of us on cabinet and all of us are happy to provide that data for you.
All right, thank you.
And then also, can you provide the other data regarding all the other grants we have? So like also the Aspire grant, because I've been hearing so many different things that it was supposed to cover people's salaries for 3 years, and then it kind of goes back and forth. But I feel like we need to have transparency on where that money is going. And next time, I would prefer to have that money saved for the students specifically only, because if we go to a time like this, then that's where I feel like we need to put the money in there to save it.
Absolutely.
And then can I just say one last thing before we vote is I just really want to emphasize here, I still feel like we haven't really exhausted our options because we don't have the data. I feel like we need to figure out what's really going on, because if you really think about it, counselors and staff, they're warning us about the dangers and repercussions on shutting down all these wellness centers. They are on the forefront. They know what is going on. And all because we are in a financial trouble does not mean that we take out our most useful services that we can clearly see that students desperately need. And we should be cutting other items. So I think we should definitely cut like buildings and grounds, like things that we don't need to make now, unless if it's like a danger to students. But I feel like we need to cut that out. We also need to cut out conferences. We also need to cut out a lot of unnecessary things that we don't need to spend on currently. And I understand that we received all of this grant money for a growing need, which was the students' mental health during COVID, but the need is still there. And the experts are telling us that we are in big trouble, and if we pass this, we aren't listening to the people that are talking to the students daily. We need to listen to them. Taking away the wellness centers does not erase the problem.
Ms. Vallejo, if I might interrupt, this is for discussion, not a speech. And I respect it because I'm advocating too. But we all have rules we are governed by, and if we're gonna hold them accountable, we have to hold ourselves accountable as well, please. Please.
Exactly, but can I just say one last thing, that
Yes.
this highly reminds me of the 1986 Space Shuttle Challenger disaster. I'm someone who really likes stories, so I like explaining stories so then we can all see how the problem really is. But regarding that Challenger disaster, a group of engineers told the higher-ups that we should not let this shuttle launch because they said that there's a huge problem that when it lifts up in the air, something in there, it is going to explode. And that's what I feel like it's going on now. We're not listening to the people that this is such a huge need and that we need it to change. Like, I want to hear from the experts. Like, I feel like Cabinet's telling us one thing, but I feel like we need full transparency. If we don't have full transparency, that is why our district's a mess. It's a huge mess. It's terrible. It's going bad. But I want us to come and be united in a forefront just so I want to regain their trust. I want them to be like, hey, these people did put students first, because I don't feel like we're putting students first. From all the other decisions that we're making tonight, we are not putting students first at all.
Thank you. Any more discussion?
You know what, I just, in hearing everything, I mean, obviously, I think the purpose or the intent of bringing Dr. Pricer was to give his expert opinion in terms of what the financial situations are. And none of us here want to take away the services. We also have obligations, deadlines that we have to meet. It's not to say that we're, between now and May 15th, that we're not going to try to do everything possible to do as best we can with the budget to make cuts on conferences, have these further discussions. Unfortunately, we can't solve that problem on March 5th. We have to make decisions, difficult decisions. And then from there, we hit the ground running. And then we start to see, hey, what are we looking at? Where can we cut out? Where can we do this? Unfortunately, we're going to have to prioritize some services. I've heard from many different counselors. I've had phone calls and conversations, and I have a better understanding of what's going on and how it all works, the inner workings and the moving pieces that it does at a campus. And obviously, I don't think anybody here doesn't want to try to save as many positions as possible. But unfortunately, we have decisions to make. And then from here on out, we're going to then take a look and see where we can recover funds. If there's opportunities to recover funds, then we do it. If there's grants that we're writing that are going to come in, then we might reallocate people or personnel and staff, but make the budget work, because it might be extra funds that are coming out of another source or resource as opposed to the general fund. So, and again, I can't do anything but try to stay optimistic in terms of what everybody's doing, the work that is being done on the ground. In the future negotiations, I'm living and learning that sometimes when you get projections and, there's money there to grab for staff and personnel, we need to think twice about how that's going to, knowing that in that third year, it's thin. I never thought we would be here with the projections that we had 3 years ago when I wasn't a board member, just as a personal employee. I didn't see this. I don't think many people saw it. So now, we basically just have to work together, figure out what we're going to do. And I think everybody's going to do the best that they can, advocate where they can. I think we all bring different skills and assets as a board, and we're going to utilize that with whatever personnel we have to, obviously going through Mr. Bennett and making sure that we're asking the right questions, and we're trying to figure out, well, how can we save one more job? One more job here, one more job there. It's going to take a collective effort. And, you know, I just hope, I want to maintain that, you know, we're going to be positive about it, and hopefully things are going to come out where we benefit from it. But again, I can't make promises, but I'm hopeful that management's going to do their job. We're going to do the job that we have to do to make the decisions. And hopefully the outcomes are going to be beneficial to all, especially our students. So, thank you.
Thank you. I just want to reiterate one more time. We're faced with the deadline of March 15th to send out notices, but we are working with each other, the district and the board and cabinet. Everybody is working hard to retain money so we could retain the employees. And you guys who've emailed me, I've done my best to get to everyone. I don't think I got to everyone. But just understand, we are working still. It doesn't mean we're stopping everything because of what's happening right now. We're bound by laws and governance policies and all that stuff. And please understand, we are working. It's not going to stop. It's not going to stop, I assure you guys. We're all trying. You see how passionate we all are. And the hard part, you know, is I want to let her finish her speech, but if I got to hold you accountable, I got to hold her accountable. So please don't take that as disrespect. My other goal is I want everybody the opportunity to speak. I want to hear your voice. I want to know what's on your heart. So please work with us, bear with us. Okay, so where are we at? We are at 9.1. Any more discussion?
We didn't have a card.
No, we didn't have cards, sir. No, this is for us. We have the motion. Any more discussion? No? All right, please vote. Item 9.1 is a 4-1 vote. It does hurt. It does hurt. 9.2, resolution number 1423-24, elimination, discontinuation, and layoff of certain classified management and unrepresented employees for the 2024-25 school year. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
For this one? Okay. So we have three speakers, and these are 1 minute and 30 seconds? Or, no, these are 3 minutes. Okay, and these are 3 minutes each. The first one is Adrian, who I cannot pronounce your last name, I apologize. Lamoth? Adrian? I'm sorry if I messed your name up. Here we go. Lamoth. Are they coming? Yeah, let's move on. Rocco Neems.
Before I start, I do want to present a petition that our school has been signing and school-wide, and I'd like to present it to her if that's okay with you guys and the board. Thank you so much. With that petition comes 190 signatures from students and teachers who are concerned on our campus for our well-being, for our mental health. And I just want to start off by saying thank you for inviting me to speak. And today I'm not speaking from a script, I'm speaking from my heart. You all, as elected board members, have made a promise to our community, and not only to our community, but to us as students. And I say this with the hurt in my heart, you have not been carrying out that promise. I am the one who is doing your guys' jobs from behind the scenes. I am the one who is staying up after hours after doing my schoolwork, looking for grants and programs. I am the one emailing our state assembly members and the office of the Governor of California. I am the one who found a grant that is endorsed by the Governor of California. I am the one who gave you guys the idea to reach out to Medi-Cal offices in Riverside via email, and I just feel that it's unfair that I, as a student, have to do the work that you guys promise us as a community to do. And with that being said, I also want to say that I have seen my own friends struggle with their mental health. I will not name this person, but they have came to me many times in worries for their lives. They have told me they do not believe that they can make it to wake up another day. And I worry. I'm the one who has to deal with that burden. And I just want to let you know that it takes one student to end their life, to have the district sued. And not only the district being sued, it will be you guys making that call to their parents saying, I'm so very sorry, we could not save you. So, like I said before, there must be alternative budgeting solutions. We have seen this in California over and over again. We have seen budgets go down. We have seen debts. But it's your guys' jobs to make sure that those are not always there. It is your guys' jobs to make sure we stay out of the red. It is your guys' jobs to make sure we can go home to our families and not worry that they can't eat or they cannot have a place where they can sleep. And I think you guys forget to realize that me and the minorities on our campus are the ones who struggle the most. Me as a foster child, other people who are foster children, LGBTQ youth, we all struggle. And I'm sorry if I'm going over a little bit of my time, but this is unacceptable, and we expect more from you. Thank you so much.
Jasmine Diego.
Good afternoon, Board of Trustees. My name is Jasmine Altamirano Diego. I come to you as a first-generation Latina daughter, an older sister, and active student of the PUHS school district, who struggles with her own mental health. In my culture, it's a weird stigma that mental health isn't something normal, and that those who have it are simply seeking attention. But even I, as a well-rounded student who is involved in 4 extracurriculars, does community service, is an active member in my church, and still has time to spend with my family members and friends, I am here to enlighten you that even the strongest one of us have moments, and mine are mentally challenged. I've spent sleepless nights running through my thoughts, thinking about my own life, how I've struggled, and how to keep pushing forward. And it's not only me who continues to struggle with these moments, it's also the community that surrounds me. We, as a community, have found solace in the environment that the Wellness Center provides for us. It's become a space safe for many. How are students expected to continue pushing forward without the counselors whom they've created a bond with? I, as well as Rocco and Nums, have been going around collecting signatures from the student body that the Wellness Center is a need and not a want. Our claim is supported by the 190 signatures that we've collected. I collected signatures because it was a responsibility as someone who suffers from mental health and who has friends, but also as an older sister. I have younger sisters, and I have talked to them about the opportunities and that the Wellness Center provides, but I'm unable to continue having these conversations. Why? As an older sister, would I rave to them about sources that aren't going to be there for them? I worry. Even when explaining to the own students that go to the school this year about the petition, they felt like they were blindsided, that they didn't even know that this was happening. How are you guys going to make these budget cuts when the students at the current schools don't know what's happening? Why are you taking these resources from the community? What's our alternative? Who will be there to support the students? Are we as a community ready to watch our students struggle? Are we as a community ready to see how dire mental health impacts someone's life? And with all honesty, I'm not willing to watch those who I love struggle so heavily with mental health. Why are we going to take their help? Aren't we supposed to be helping them? Aren't you guys supposed to be helping us help ourselves? Why are counselors and wellness centers not being prioritized? Why can't we reallocate funds? Why can't we make fundraisers? Why can't we do anything to stop this? I feel like we do, and I feel like it's your responsibility to take action into this, and you guys are simply not. And I'm seeing this from a student's perspective. I'm there. I have friends who struggle, and I'm the one who also knows that if without the wellness center, I'm going to have more friends. I'm not willing to let my circle slowly go down in numbers because you guys made a decision to take away their support. Thank you.
Adrian Lamoth, please. Thank you. All right, item 9.2, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Item 9.2 is a 4-1 vote. Item 9.3, Personnel Resolution 1923-24, elimination, discontinuation, and layoff of certain certificated management employees for the 24-25 school year. Do I have a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? Please vote. Item 9.3 is a 4-1 vote. Item 9.4, Personnel, Resolution Number 2123-24, elimination, discontinuation, and layoff of certain certificated management employee for the 24-25 school year. Do I have a motion? I'm sorry, was that a motion? See no motion?
So moved.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. First speaker is Devin Blankenship. This is 1 minute and 30 seconds, please.
Hello, everyone. My name is Devin Blankenship, and I'm a current employee with the Paris Elementary School District. And the cuts on DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, are a great concern for me because without proper representation of students in their educational environments, I don't see how students can succeed. So I work in a special day class with students that have disabilities, and I see the intersection between persons with disabilities and race. Many of my students who are of Latin and African American descent most likely will be in this district within the next 10 years, and it is critical for them to be properly supported throughout their educational career. And according to U.S. News for Education, it says the district's minority enrollment here is 90%. So it's imperative that a district that serves a predominantly minority population prioritizes diversity above anything. Also, Black and Latino students are less likely to meet college requirements and take advanced courses. So by cutting this, it perpetuates the inequities we see today, even with affirmative action being now forbid in our country. If we want to see our students go to campus and be integral to our word, we have to put these students first. So hopefully that this is something that you guys will be able to work out. And yeah, I trust everything will work out good. Thank you.
Nelly Camon? Noel. Oh, my apologies. Oh, I didn't see that.
Good evening. Hello to all of you members of our educational community. My name is Noelle Kamen, and I'm a proud teacher at Heritage High School, and I do the world's most important work. I'm here to address these line items that would cripple the very important work that I do I'm here to express my sadness and frustration at the proposal to cut my work off at my knees. What you may not know or understand is that these support and administrative personnel make my work possible. They free me up to do the very precise and intentional work that I do with our children. Without them, my work becomes less efficient and less precise. Picture a surgeon going into an operating room without an anesthesiologist or a surgical tech or a nurse. Their work is less efficient and less precise. And who suffers? The patient. Our students suffer when we don't have support. You are tasked with a different type of precise work. You're being asked to cut. I implore you to cut with precision. I implore you to look for cuts with a mind to the quality of life of your patients, our students. What I see so far is more akin to butchery. Please don't just look for joints to cut off. Precision is necessary, and so is assistance. Please consult the experts in the room. Please consult the people most affected. Please do your homework. The last thing I want to say is that when you fail to plan, you plan to fail. These proposed cuts seem like a colossal failure in planning to my mind. I hope there is a plan in place going forward. No, I expect a plan. I expect for you to come up with solutions. I expect leadership to serve our educational community with precision and intention. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Superintendent Bennett, members of the board. My name is Mary Venerable, and I'm here today representing the Southwest Riverside County NAACP Branch 1034. I am here in keeping with our mission to secure the political, educational, social, and economic equality of rights to eliminate race-based discrimination and ensure the health and well-being of persons. I also reviewed your vision statement, which indicated that Paris Union High School will be a caring, diverse, supportive learning environment in which all are committed towards working in the relationship to foster innovative and creative learning. My major reason for being here is to speak to you about your plans to cut the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Department. I have been reduced in time. I have provided the clerk to provide you with a copy of my presentation, and so I won't go into the details that I have been cut with, so I ask that you review my remarks and that you give due consideration to stop the elimination of this position, this very important position. I hope I've given you in my outline the insight and information about the need to continue the operation and support for the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Department in Paris. Thank you for allowing me the time. Thank you.
Thank you. Helen Steinmetz.
Before I get up there, I beg your indulgence because I timed it to 3 minutes. So I'd rather not read it fast, but if I have to, I will.
You have to stick with this so we could allow everyone to speak.
I will read fast. Good evening, President Garcia, members of the board, Superintendent Mr. Bennett, and Cabinet. My name is Helen Steinmetz, and I am Dr. Cassandra McNair's secretary in DEI. I want to appeal to you regarding action item 9.4 that will eliminate Dr. McNair's position and the equity division of PUHSD. I understand we are in a budget deficit and we need to sharpen pencils and eliminate unnecessary contracts, consultants, and positions. But I can't begin to understand how this district, who prides themselves on being the first in innovation, as a leader, not a follower, and continuously maintains that everything we do is for the benefit of our students and families, would consider eliminating one of the most beneficial programs ever implemented. to release Dr. McNair, a leader who is proactive, innovative, caring, articulate, dedicated, and beloved by staff, parents, and students without a full understanding of what she has done to achieve such positive results for PUHFC is absurd. Besides creating equity and ethnic study committees of both certificated and classified members of parents and students that meet with the superintendent quarterly, she has been able to bridge the gap between people and cultures. She models the vision of a caring, diverse, and supportive learning environment and has proven success with restructuring DAPAC, APAC, BSU, and that's just the beginning. Plans are in the works for the cultural celebrations and affirmations for Hispanic and Asian population in our district. She has written a $12 million community school grant to bring positions and services to our students. What happens when next year the grant committee has questions for her and we say she doesn't work here and we don't have a DEI division? Then the committee asks to speak to her supervisor and we say, sorry, the superintendent retired. Do you really think that this grant committee will want to invest in us? Dr. McNair has done so much in such a short time and she has so much more to do. California Health Kids Survey is under her purview. She is in discussions with committees on novel adoption and the pilot program for
Helen,
ethnic
if I
studies.
could interrupt, I apologize, but I'm trying to respect everybody's time. If I go over for yours and everybody else's, we won't be able to do this in a timely manner. I do apologize. But I'm going to ask you to email that to me, please.
Thank you.
Robert Brown. Charlitha Dotson.
Hi, good afternoon, Board. Superintendent Bennett. My name is Charlitha Dotson. I'm a teacher at Heritage High School, and I'm also a parent of a sophomore at Heritage High School. I didn't come in with a speech because when I speak from my heart, so I'll make this quick. Year and a half ago, when Dr. McNair came in, we had some higher-up folks from the district office come in and hoo-ha about how great things are going to be because you've given out surveys and you've gotten information from us and you see the concern and you see the need for our students. And then we go to these district APAC meetings. She comes in, she makes these grand presentations about how we can better the situation and culture in our district for our students. And then now you come in and you tell us she's going to be gone. I mean, it's just like, I'm really, truly at a loss for words. Our counselors, just this past August, the CARES team, Bob Bruff comes in and he, all around our theater and tells us how great this team is going to be and they're going to come in and they're going to do all of these great things for our students. And then what? Now they're going to be gone. At what point are you guys going to start thinking about our children? Like really and truly, when are you going to start thinking about our children? And what's going to happen is just what happened after COVID. You see what the need is. There's a reason why you brought everybody in. Now you take everybody out and the same thing is going to happen. It's cyclical. Everything is going to just like avalanche. We're going to be, the teachers, the counselors that we have left over are going to be the ones meeting the needs of all of these kids, wearing all of these hats. And all that's going to happen is, I'm just so upset. It's going to work on the mental health of the teachers as well. The same thing is going to happen. Teachers are going to be taken off. Then you're going to have all of these subs. No one, and it's, at the end of the day, it's just going to hurt the children, period. So you keep saying you're listening, but I don't think you're listening because the votes are continuing to be 4-1.
Priscilla Grijalva.
Good evening, Board, Superintendent, and Cabinet. My name is Priscilla Grijalva. I serve on a National School Counseling Board and committees. I'm here to support school counselors' mental health and the Equity Director. According to your mission statement, it is to create a safe and caring environment. I won't read it all to you because you know it. Eliminating the Director of Equity and Inclusion, as well as school counselors, is detrimental to our students. These positions create a safe and supportive environment. This will send a ripple effect across the district. Ethnic studies will be a state requirement in the coming years. Equity Director is needed. FAFSA-CATA is a completion requirement in our state. Mental health needs are rising. School counselors are needed. Their caseloads will raise once you cut them, and they'll be above 530. This will create less time for direct services for our students. School counselors assist students with their mental health needs, college career, and so much more. They save lives. The Equity Director position helps close achievement gaps. The U.S. Department of Education has released the 2023 Equity Action Plan as part of the Biden-Harris administration's continued commitment to advancing racial equity and support for underdeserved communities through the federal government. This plan aligns with one of the President's first executive orders, 13985, advancing racial equity and support for underdeserved communities through the federal government. According to the Educational Trust research, in particular, students of color and students from low-income families benefit from having more school counselors. For example, Black students are more likely than their white peers to identify their school counselor as the person who had the most influence on their thinking for post-secondary education. My question for you is, do you think cutting these positions supports your mission statement and will help your students with educational equity? As board member Elizabeth Vallejo stated, look at the data and other items. Put students first.
Grijalva?
Please consider removing school counselors and your equity director from elimination. Thank you.
Thank you. Janice Ruths. I'm going to ask again, you guys, please be cautious of the time. I know you keep going over about 15 seconds. Normally, I would allow that in a regular board meeting, but we have so many more speakers that I want to be able to get to them all, please.
My name is Janice Ruths. I'm the Executive Director for the Center Against Racism and Trauma. We cover the entire Inland Empire. And we're particularly interested in instances where school districts are getting rid of their diversity, equity, and inclusion departments. I'm listening here to both you, board members, as well as staff and parents and teachers. And of course, it makes no sense to get rid of diversity, equity, and inclusion in a district where you have such great diversity, but you have what might be respectable graduation rates, but very, very low achievement in math and English, and even for English language learners, and high, rates of suspension. So these are measures. These are your work measures. These are your work measures, staff. And you need to have somebody who's going to be looking at what do people need, students, teachers, staff, in order to be successful in their jobs, which is to ensure that children learn and are supported in that learning with a variety of things. But my question to you in my few seconds is, why is the county telling you about your finances, and why wasn't this session a whole session on what the budget is in Paris with all the data you need to help make the decisions you want to make in terms of doing that surgical work and cuts? That's the question you should be asking the staff. Thank you.
Ashley Williamson.
Hello, my name is Ashley Williamson. I'm the parent of 2 Paris Union students and 1 former student. I came today to address the board about a poor proposal to eliminate some of the most crucial faculty members at PUHSD. Social workers, the diversity and inclusion director, support staff, drug intervention specialists, and assistant principals are absolutely vital to the students in our district that are the most in need. Schools can sometimes expect students to be comfortable with engaging faculty, and these kinds of relationships can lead to emotional support, recommendation letters. Connecting with faculty is valuable to a student's GPA. One research study shows that each voluntary office visit corresponds to a 1.25 bump in their final grade for that course. Now that's in college, but how else to better prepare our youth for the world beyond high school than to start now? How else to better show our most vulnerable students that their school supports them by retaining specialized staff specifically for the purpose of support? Recently, my child had an issue with inappropriate content in the classroom by a teacher, and it was addressed immediately by both a counselor and an assistant principal, who called me today to let me know the issue was addressed and that there will be practices implemented to further monitor the situation. Our students rely on these staff members, and as a parent, I also rely on them, supporting my children when I can't be there to do so. I trust the administration and the counselors. DEI directors, wellness centers, and the encompassing staff are integral to the cultural competency of a community. So when families come in, they can see and hear themselves in their teachers, staff, and leadership. Diversity work can sometimes be lost in everyday functions of a school, but that's exactly where it exists, in the day-to-day and the nuances. And the lens we see the school through is important, just as we look at administration practices, advancement practices, or financial practices, you should want to look at your diversity practices. This brings inclusion to the entire community and leads to everyone having a voice at the table. Eliminating these valuable positions only serves to harm not just the LGBTQIA students or the Black and brown students or the differently abled and chronically ill students, but when an overall detriment to every student in the district. Stop these vital staff cuts and support the students that you were elected to support.
Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize that we had to cut her microphone. I am trying to be transparent with time, as you have noticed, but we can't delegate or break away from the policies and procedures that we're trying to do. And I'm just asking you all to be respectful. I don't want you guys removed.
We had card number 11 turned in, no name on it. They have their phone number. I'll just give the area code 323. Some of the 323 area code? No? Okay.
Okay. Next speaker, Sharita Montgomery. Is that correct?
She's coming.
Hello. Hi, my name is Sharita Montgomery, and I have an alumni from Paris High School, also a student in Paris High School, and one going into Paris High School. And I think that the way our children are being treated is just disrespectful. Our children deserve a whole lot better than what they're doing, and them taking the DEI out of the system is not good for our kids. It's not supporting our kids with the IEPs. They have mental disorders. I have one kid that's going crazy all the time, and they want to take this out of the school system. It's not good for our kids. Our kids need help. You hear the fires, the police running up and down the street right now. Kids are being killed. Kids can't even walk out the street, out of the schools without feeling unsafe. And as a school board, you have to protect our children. Our children are number one important. That's the only reason you have a paycheck is because of our kids. And if you cannot take care of our kids, then you need to step down out of these seats and find somebody else that can take care of our kids the way that they need to be taken care of. I have a son that has been pushed from one school to the other school to the other school, but nobody has taken time to help my son. And now they want to send him to RCOE in Riverside, and he's only 13. I'm a single mom. I need help with my son. But to send him to RCOE, and I got one kid here and one kid there, it's not fair to me. If you can't do your job, get out of your seat.
Shayna Bradshaw? Is there a Shayna Bradshaw?
Ms. Bradshaw? Shayna Bradshaw?
Thank you. I hope I don't ruin this. Jaheem Grant? Did I say that right? And Jasmine Grant?
Jasmine Grant?
Crystal Perry?
Crystal Perry?
My goodness. David Rabb? I know I seen him earlier. Is he here?
Good evening, members of the board. My name is David Rabb. I have the pleasure of serving on the Paris City Council. I'm here to echo the sentiments of my constituents and many people in the Paris Unified High Schools District. I would advise the board to vote no on cutting the diversity, equity, and inclusion role and all the council roles. As a 2004 Paris High School graduate whose family has over 70 years in this high school, my dad's older sister graduated in 1947. I understand the things that particularly black students have to face in Paris High. To go and cut the diversity, equity, inclusion role in the city, in the high school, it's a role that's needed here, and it's a role that helps out a lot of students. I've had the opportunity to speak to the APAC multiple times. A lot of the students, particularly the young black boys, are not getting the needed guidance that the diversity, equity, and inclusion role plays in the city, and in the school. And another thing is, here it is election day, and you have a special meeting on election day. A lot of people are exercising their right to vote, and here you have a special meeting on election day. The meeting is not filmed. You just have the audio equipment in the meeting, and it's just unconscionable that a board is trying to do things in the dark. So once again, vote no on getting rid of the diversity, equity, and inclusion role, cutting those counselors, and listen to the voice of your constituents and the voice of the residents of the district. Thank you.
Thank you. Miles Ross? Mr. Ross?
Good evening. Miles Ross, NAACP, Branch 1034. Honorable members, thank you for hearing me out. I'll be short. We cannot say that all lives matter if black lives don't matter. We cannot say that all lives matter if you engage in academic apartheid. We cannot say that all lives matter if you engage in Jim Crow 2.0. Cutting benefits that help the least of us is not education. It is deprivation. We're here to help, to find solutions, to fix problems, resolve issues. A school is not a business. You cannot strictly run it by the bottom line. You have to look at the impact, the negative impact that it has on your constituents, mainly the children, who are your customers. You are depriving your customers of what they bargained for, which is an education that allows them to fully become who they are meant to be and to be a positive contribution to our community. If black lives don't matter, no lives matter. We ask that you vote no on this agenda in regards to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 9.4, any more discussion?
Actually, I have a quick question for the board. I just really wanted to ask, why is the DEI position being cut when it wasn't even supposed to be cut till next year? This seems very targeted to me. It is very sexist. It is very racist about it. And I think it's rude that we even have such a great employee, and how come for others, we have found a position for them in the district, but we haven't found one for her? Why aren't we salvaging these really great employees that really care about these people? We already lost Bruff, and he was such a great person who really put the students first, and now we're losing another one that really puts the student first. So what was the rush? What was the rush for laying off this position when it wasn't even set till next year? Please let me know.
I think that's a question we all want to know. But you're asking us, and you know the answer. You know that all this is presented to us, and we have to make the decision. And I'm not sticking up for anybody. I'm just putting the facts out there. Just like last time, we had to clarify some miscommunication. I'm not going to partake in that, but I know we're here to do what we have to do. That's all I could say, because you're looking directly at me like I'm the one.
Transparency. I'm looking at all of you guys.
Looking at me.
I will directly look at you if I want to be honest.
Go ahead.
But my question still stands. Her position was not even due to be cut till next year. So what's going on? Like, why?
I think we should
why are
ask you the
picking and
same thing
choosing?
too. If you're looking directly at me, so I want to answer you, but I don't have that answer.
So you're telling me that you voted for this position to be cut for what specifically? Because I want to know what you think.
Now you're pointing fingers, and I think you need to stop. Correct.
Oh, we're about to.
Yes. Yeah. I'm not. No, this isn't professional. Don't do that.
No,
Don't do that. You know
I
you're
just want to
wrong.
assume that, I feel like then we're insinuating that this is going to be a no, and then this job is going to be kept. That's what I'm hearing.
So I think one of the things that, obviously the position that we're in is lose-lose, is what it seems like. You have one side saying, why aren't you cutting administration? Then you cut administration, and then it's like, why are you cutting administration? And so we have to look at the bottom line, the figures that are out there, and then obviously try to move around the pieces. No one has ever said, well, and maybe that, it was a conversation that we haven't had. We are trying to look for positions for everybody who has been cut or is on the cut list. We're looking for those positions with these grant monies. That's the intention. That's the purpose. Now, if I don't know if you've had those conversations with anybody, but I have. And so I want to make sure that you understand that we're having conversations. We're having conversations about how can we take this employee and find, if there's other funding, take that funding and move them into that. Now, it might be a change in title, but it is nonetheless trying to save we're trying to save everybody we can. And that's the bottom line. I think this, it feels very targeted. I mean, I have never seen.
I don't feel it is.
Wait.
So the reality is we have to make decisions here and now. And then obviously, I hope you've tried to bring solutions to the cabinet, to Mr. Bennett, because I know I have. I know I've had those conversations, and I've tried to find ways to make sure that we're trying to save every position. Now, I've heard, you guys got to do your homework, you got to do this, you got to do that. There's, my thing is I have done my homework, and I have asked the questions, and I'm the one who actually looked into the community schools grant, but, now it's all of a sudden we're being posed as like we're going to be the ones that have to, because it's a 4-1 vote. I think it's very unfair. I think we're all bringing different things to the table, and I know I have to deal with my decisions, and I'm hoping that they get rectified. But I'm bringing ideas and solutions to the table to offset these job losses. Now, if you haven't done that, I can't vouch for you, but I know I've done my job in trying to bring solutions to the issues. That we have to make cuts. If you look at the cost of a lot of the different programs and when they were set up, a lot of this stuff was done before I was even here. And, obviously some have been put in place, but I don't think it's fair that we're being kind of accused, or some of us, to not think that we don't care. We do care. And we're bringing solutions to the table. And that's okay. Everybody has the right to their opinions. We, at the end of the day, have to make decisions.
But I'm just asking for transparency, though. Like, if that's the case, then why didn't we offer another position for McNair? That's what I'm saying.
No, not to vote for it. Right, the president or the vice president. Y'all don't care about our kids at all. Nope.
Okay,
Not at all.
I need the chatter on the other side to please stop.
So, Mr. Bennett?
Hold on, please. I want to bring this back to order. Let's stop the accusing. Let's stop the chatter, and let's conduct this meeting like we're supposed to. We're all professionals. Yeah, we're all elected. We know what we should and we shouldn't be doing. And attacking is not cool. You did that last board meeting. Please stop.
Wasn't attacking.
So,
are we
Can I
having more
just ask
discussion?
a question to Mr. Bennett. Mr. Bennett, have I brought you solutions and ideas to offset some of the job losses? Yes or no?
Yeah, yes, you have.
Yeah, yeah. And so my point is, we're doing our job. We're trying to do the best. We have deadlines. I don't know if you were paying attention to the fiscal situation is not good at the moment. But I'm still hopeful that with grants coming in, that can be alleviated. And I mean, maybe at this point, you know, it's just better off to call the question, we move to a vote, and we go from there.
Any more discussion? See none? All right, please vote. Item 9.4 is a 4-1 vote. Item 9.5, personnel. Revised job description, Assistant Superintendent, Innovation and Technology Services. Do I have a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? See none? Please vote. Item 9.5 is a 4-1 vote. Item 9.6, employment agreement, Assistant Superintendent of Innovation and Technology Services. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? Any discussion? Please vote. Item 9.6 is a 4-1 vote. Item 9.7, business selection of an independent auditor. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? Sorry? So come on, Candace.
So the item, excuse me, I'm taller, I think, than the last speaker. The item that's before you was requested at the last board meeting to look at different external independent auditors. So what we were able to do is get for you, I think you had requested that we get a single year quote from the current auditor, who is Eide Bailey. And we got 2 additional quotes. We did reach out to other firms. We've reached out to the county office so we could get a full list of who the other districts use. Majority of the districts in Riverside County do use Eide Bailey. That's not to say the other firms aren't quality firms or anything like that. You can see the costs for the 23-24 audit before you for both the district audit and the Proposition 39, which is our bond measure fund before you. And so the way that we have written this agenda item is to allow the board to have whatever discussion you would like to have. And then if you would direct us for which firm you would like to use. We will then bring a contract back to the board at the March 20th board meeting so that we could meet that March 29th deadline that we spoke about a couple of weeks ago and that I wrote in the summary here. So I'm happy to answer any other questions you have. I don't have any specific experience with the other firms, though, to answer those kinds of
And
questions.
if I'm correct, I think one of the big issues was we would prefer it to be a one-year contract.
And these are all
rather than
one-year
multiple.
proposals, and the contract would then follow suit. Yes,
All right.
correct.
So what is the next step, since there's three?
You would have a board member make a motion for which one they would like to go
Does
with.
anyone have a preference?
The recommendation of the cabinet is to go with Hyde Bailey continued, because they already started some of that information previously. But it's your decision.
Does anyone want to make a motion?
May I clarify something that you said just for the record? They haven't started the 23-24. Right, they've
Worked with them previously. is
We've
what you're
worked with
saying.
them previously. They've worked with all of our different restricted one-time dollars and, their interpretation of the audit guide as it relates to how we use those funds is that we would pass audit. So, and we do have, this is our last year for those funds, but that's just one consideration you may want to think of.
Are you going to ask a question or can I ask?
I was going to make a motion. So moved.
Can I ask a question, a quick question?
After a second.
Second.
Okay, go ahead.
Candace, I just had a quick question. For these three firms that you chose, is there a specific rubric on how you chose these specific three, or just?
Nope, it wasn't that complicated. We had a very short amount of time to ask for quotes, and so Ms. Capistrano actually reached out to all the firms that we could. Some of the firms, I shouldn't say many, there's not a whole long list of them. Some of the firms couldn't provide a quote for us in that short of a turnaround time. Some of them couldn't provide a quote because they're already at capacity and they can't take on another client in that short of a turnaround time. So I say that so that you are, aware, if you pick a firm for 1 year, it's not off the table to then start this process earlier.
Yes.
For the next year, if that makes sense.
Mr. Stafford, you made a motion. Is that to accept Idle and Bailey? Okay.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, originally Steve, yeah, and then again,
for
what
okay.
happened was it flipped. Right.
Oh, okay, then I guess so, but I was going to speak to another firm, but.
Well, there's a motion and a second, so now we can have discussion.
Oh. So, in looking at the firms, and so I think one of the things that we were trying to avoid last time was the long-term, and obviously the established relationship that was there. Getting a fresh new set of eyes to kind of look at it, and actually thank you for clarifying that they were the ones that were dealing with all that other stuff in the past. That obviously, I wasn't aware of, maybe that's been mentioned before. So I did look at the CWDL. And it says, takes a great deal of pride in our all-inclusive annual fee. This fee encompasses a variety of situations that trigger supplemental billings at many of our competitors. Obviously, they are the lowest bidder, and it seems like they're providing extra services. And obviously, if we're looking at cost savings, then this would be one of those things. My question to you is, with Ide Bailey, have we ever had any of those that were listed there that were additional costs outside of the agreement? Because I know within the 3-year agreement, and I know it's probably long-term gets a better rate, but at the 3-year agreement, we're looking at $60,000 per year. And I believe this one was 44, if I'm not mistaken, but. Okay, with the potential of extra benefits, so.
I'm glad you read that so I could confirm with Mimi. No, under Ide Bailey, at least in our recent history, we haven't had, because I understand how you're reading that it could be more, but the cost there is similar to what the way it was proposed. Rather, we would expect that we would pay that price, and that would be the maximum that we would pay. It wouldn't be extra services.
Oh, right,
on
right.
top.
So there wouldn't be other because.
But that's an excellent question. Okay. We it's interesting that you noticed that under CWDL, because Mimi and I talked a lot about that, and that's actually intriguing to us too. However, I think I would say that maybe down the road, for the next year, but that's up to you. We're fine with whatever is your decision.
So now you saying that we're dealing with this year. So because the agreement that was posed last board meeting was for a 3-year agreement, and I think where we were hesitant is in the long-term agreement.
Understood.
I mean, if it's one of those things where we complete, or we do a 1-year with Eide Bailey, and then maybe we, to cost save, because if they've already started the process or whatever, then obviously we stay with that emotion, but
Yeah.
this obviously is something that could save us, cost us, and if it's a 1-year deal, and we, based on you guys' recommendations, the discussion, and you say, hey, you know what, we did save money, but there was more headaches, or, then obviously we would look into a more long-term agreement. But I think the hesitation last month was the 3-year agreement, and so I'd be more than happy to stay with Eide Bailey for a year. If that's what Tony's recommending on that, then that would be okay. And then that we now have this as kind of something to look at to maybe let's go for that next year, see how it works out, and then you now have something to compare.
I think that's all reasonable. I think on our end, we appreciate that because we're extremely busy, more so than normal, right now with all of the other things that we've talked about. So we certainly would appreciate that. But as I said before, whatever is the will of the board, we're happy, to use whichever firm. Thank you. So we're looking at 1 year. 1 year. And you're actually not approving a contract tonight. Anna, you changed the motion in there to make it clear, so it'll come up on there. We would then bring back the contract for whichever firm you select at the March 20th board meeting. Mm-hmm.
All right. So any more discussion, since we have the first and the second? No more discussion? Please vote. Nine point seven is a 5-0 vote. Item 10.1, adjournment. Special meeting of the Board of Trustees, March 5th, 2024. Is there a motion? Is there a second? Is there any discussion? See none, please vote. The vote is a 5-0 vote, and we are adjourning at 7:48.